funded by Coinbase. They already made an offer for us. We said no.
All right. Well, we are officially live everywhere here, so we should see some people trickling into the chat here.
How do I see you on YouTube?
If you go to, here, let me send you the link.
No, I see it, dude.
You found it?
I think so. Oh, yeah, I found it. I did.
Yeah, say if not, I can send you the link.
I see it. No, I got it.
All right, cool. So there we are, live. And soon we will see some people start jumping in the chat here, hopefully.
Nice.
They'll start to populate up here.
Okay.
We've got Money James over on Twitter. What's
nice.
happening? Thanks for joining.
What's up? What's up? West Coast. Repping West Coast right now.
That's right.
Go Dubs.
Bruce Buckler. All right. People are filling in. Life Size Box. What's happening? That guy is here. He is always first in the chat. So he's a longtime fan. What's happening,
nice.
Life Size Box? Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, man. I'll dab it for you.
And all right, cool. So looks like we've got 4 or 5 people watching us on Facebook. So yeah, I guess we can start to get into it here. Well, first of all, Frank, thank you for coming on the channel and talking about Helium a little bit today. We met at Blockchain Economic Forum and thought you guys seemed like nice, interesting people, and it was one of the few things that I had heard that was unique there. There's so many projects that are rehashing what's already been done, and I thought the system that you guys have gone with was a unique way to go. So anyway, thanks for coming on, and let's talk about it.
Thanks, man. Before we start, Jason, I want to thank you. I want to thank Cryptosomniac for having Helium on. We are extremely honored to be here, very thankful, very blessed. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome, man. We try to get as much coverage, fair coverage as possible and unbiased. So I really like the interviews. I think it's a big thing for projects, just being able to talk to C-suite, for potential investors, or at least people that are interested in the project or possibly even utilizing it. It's always good to have a direct line to the C-suite of the company. I think you can get a better feel for the corporate culture, and it's always a little easier to get direct questions answered that way as well. So we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Let's do it.
All right. Cool. So what's happening, Jeff B? By the way, guys, any questions you guys have for Frank, post them in the chat over on Facebook or on Twitter, and I will relay this stuff. So any questions you have about the system, feel free to ask. My first is just, how did you guys come up with utilizing the radio waves as the consensus mechanism and the timestamps? What was the genesis of that?
Yeah, let me just, I'll answer that question, but I'll back up a second to give everyone context.
Yeah, that's probably better.
About why we're even doing this. So why does Helium exist? What's going on? What's the problem? How are we going to solve this?
Right.
So for everyone that doesn't know, Helium was founded about 5 years ago by Sean Fanning, the guy that started Napster, right? The guy that started peer-to-peer networking, music sharing, and all that. And Amir Haleem, he was world champ of Quake before esports was like an esport. So this is like pretty epic. We got 2 founders, 2 entrepreneurs that know what they're doing. They've been building software for many years, and they hit this wall called IoT, Internet of Things, right? Internet of Things, what is that? People are like, what is Internet of Things? It's like your Nest thermostat. It's like a Ring doorbell. It's all these other little things that should be.
Alexa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All your Alexa kind of crap. But stuff like that only works in your home or in your office, right? As soon as you walk outside and you're in the neighborhood, you're in the city, you're in the woods, none of that stuff works, right? And so there's a problem there in that you can't connect anything. And so one of the dreams our founders had was, hey, we should be living in the world of the Jetsons, right? You guys know the Jetsons, the cartoon that we all kind of grew up watching, right? You got a robot maid. Whenever you walk outside, there's machines following you. Everything just seems to know your name and know what you want. They give you anything you need, right, as you need it. But we don't live in that world. We live in the world of the Flintstones. Remember the Flintstones? Yeah, we don't even have self-driving cars that can't kill people, right? We live in the Flintstones where you still got to pedal, right? We got to pump gas, and it's super bad. And so what Amir and Sean thought of was, hey, we got to fix this. Like, what's the underlying problem? The underlying problem is the Internet of Things, these machines, they can't connect. It's all too hard. It's too complicated. There's all kinds of BS and royalties and payments, and everything costs a lot of money, which sucks, right? Sure. And so we said, look, let's fix that. We're going to make it super easy. We're going to make it open source, which means everyone has access to it equally, and they can develop on it. And we're going to give it a beautiful interface. Just looks like the Apple of IoT. Make it super simple, super easy, so that everyone can build on it and spark innovation. Like, that's the root of what we're doing, is building this network. Here's a fun fact for you all that you don't know. When we first started this company, the name was called Skynet.
Scary.
Skynet.
Yeah, that's scary in the crypto space.
That name, Skynet, right? Which is awesome. If you don't know, that's from Terminator, all right? And so the goal for us is to build a network, let machines connect very easily, and figure out how to do that. Now, we got a problem. Building a network is expensive, sure. Right? So I don't know where you're from in the world. If you're in America, AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon and Comcast, they're evil. They charge you a lot of money for everything. That's because they're spending billions of dollars building a network.
Right.
If you live in other countries, there's other telcos out there like T-Mobile or Deutsche Telekom or whatever, or Singapore Telecom. But the point is, it's expensive to build networks. And so what Helium thought about was, hey, how do we get everyone in the community to help us build a network, so that it's not Helium that owns it, but it's everyone that owns it. It's Jason, it's you, it's me, Frank, right? Yeah. We all can contribute to this. And this is where blockchain comes in. Mm-hmm. And so what the team did was they actually came up with a brand new blockchain, right? Using a proof of coverage sort of as the proof of work. So you guys know in Ethereum and in Bitcoin, you got this thing called proof of work, and you're hashing and rehashing and stuff.
Yep.
You don't have to do that. We're going to use radio waves. This goes to your question now. We're going to use radio waves, and we're basically going to build blocks off of radio waves by proving you're providing coverage. That's sort of the big aha. If we can do that and allow anyone to buy a gateway from us, become a wireless hotspot, right, for radio waves, and you get to be paid for mining those hotspots, right? You're mining, then that's the incentive. That kind of solves the problem with building the network,
right?
Because we wouldn't have to do it. Everyone in our community would do it, right? That you would get paid for mining. So that's the key here, is that we have a blockchain built in. It's tied to our entire system. And every time you prove that you're providing good coverage, you're useful coverage, and you're building the consensus on top of that, you earn blocks. And when you earn blocks, of course, you generate a token.
And so then would, theoretically, if somebody bought a huge number of the gateway machines, would that run any risk of being able to 51% attack the network or anything like that?
I mean, I think like any other blockchain, there's always that risk. If you decide, to deploy our gateways across a broad area, and you own, majority, call it 51% majority of all the gateways, sure, you can. But that's, I don't know if we're really worried about that, because actually our goal is to build a network and to propagate the network. Right. So whether it's one person buying a lot of it or it's many people buying individual ones, I don't think it matters, because the consensus, is all about random selections. This is where the Honey Badger BFT comes in, right? Uh-huh. We're not just using a Byzantine fault tolerant, we're using the Honey Badger Byzantine fault tolerant consensus algorithm.
Right.
Which,
I was just reading up on that. It's asynchronous.
Yeah, that's right. Asynchronous is originally, the concept was invented by Professor Andrew Miller out of University of Illinois and all his researchers. Mm-hmm. We took that concept and we essentially wrote it in Erlang. We've also since open sourced it back to the community, so you can take a look at that in our GitHub if you like. But that's the whole point, is that, look, you can't guess who is going to actually be the consensus group. You can't guess who the challenger is going to be, and it changes every 30 minutes roughly. Nice. So you can never really guess, and that helps really, I think, keep the integrity of the network. It ensures sort of no one can fake it, right? Because part of what we're doing is we're checking for valid coverage, so no one can try to fake it, trick it, load up gateways in AWS and pretend to be providing coverage.
Mm-hmm.
You physically have to be providing coverage. And so when I say that, by the way, I'm talking about the gateways. I'm talking about these hotspots.
Right.
Which here are the guts of it, by the way. Can you guys see this? This is the. Let me flip it upside down here.
Like you get the Helium logo printed right onto the circuit
That's
board.
right.
That's pretty cool.
Guys, Skynet's here, right there, right? So this is the gateway. So this gateway right here, right? It's got a processor, it's got memory, but it's got these radio. This is the radio stuff, sub-gigahertz radios. That's going to be the hotspot, right? Okay. And then the backhaul is using like Wi-Fi, cellular, Ethernet, and that's the gateway. This is going to be listening to all the devices. Here, this is the radio. This is a little radio that would go on the actual machines.
Okay.
Like this little thing would fit onto like anything you could think of. Like we would probably make a smaller size of this, like the size of my thumbnail. This is kind of big right now, but if you look at my thumbnail, the goal is to get it down to my thumbnail. So that thing would fit on lots of things. So I'll give you a great example. Like that thing could fit on a dog collar. Like if you guys have dogs, who's got dogs? Raise your hand. I can't see, but you got a dog, you got a cat. That little thing, right? This little thing would fit into your collar, right? And it would run on a battery power for like 3 years. The range would be like 6 miles or 12 kilometers. And you could track the thing. You could track your dog. You could track your cat. You could track your kids. You could track your food. You could track your car. I mean, I don't know. You could track anything.
So that was actually, I was going to say, like, what specifically do you think the main use cases for this would be in the marketplace? Are you guys like a competitor to Substratum or Elastos? I mean, Substratum's more like a decentralized internet, but I'm just trying to think of other projects that would be operating in a similar space.
Yeah, so I don't know. I actually don't know the projects you mentioned, but I think for us, you know, I hate to say it, but I'm going to call them out. Our biggest competitor is AT&T. At the end of the day, our goal in life is to build a new network, a new internet. Not just today, it's for machines, right? Because this stuff is going to speak like really low power, you know, really long range. So it's it's going to signals, tiny little signals, right? Not watching YouTube on this thing, not watching Netflix on this thing. But right, that's today, and we hope that by doing so and creating a demand for this network for machines, someday maybe we can take down AT&T. Maybe not just me, but you, Jason, and your audience, right? Everyone that watches Cryptosomniac, you guys can be part of this movement to decentralize telcos. I mean, that's what we want to do ultimately, which is hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pushing towards decentralization, I think by and large, more people need to understand why it's valuable to everyone. I think a lot of people don't really consider the fact that having one entity in control of a large portion of your life is maybe not ideal. Especially assuming that they're good actors, it's fine, right? But all it takes is one bad egg with a lot of power to make that sort of dangerous. So it's nice to have a decentralized system for less control, and then also just it's a little more democratic.
Yeah, for sure. And the difference between us and some of the projects I have heard of, like Foam, I don't know if you heard of those guys, is that we're building hardware, man. I mean, this is like, we're not just producing like random algorithms, and it's not like a white paper with a dream. Right?
That's what I was just gonna say. I like the fact that you guys have you have a company, you have a product. It already exists. It's not a white paper and a good idea. It's already like these items exist and are ready for deployment now.
Oh yeah, dude. We're about to deploy friends and family soon, right? I mean, this is like when you talk about IOTA, they don't have anything. We got hardware. We got firmware, we got protocol, we got software, we got the cloud. It's all connected. It's going to work. This is exciting, right? We're thinking like by the end of the year, we should at least have about 5 to 10 cities in the world covered, and hopefully more. But the goal is to get about 5,000 units out by the end of this year, and just start mining. So we're super excited by that. The other thing you asked about use cases earlier. I'll just throw out a couple of different ones. I mentioned the dog collar one. You're tracking your dog and tracking your kid and all that. That's cool, right? The other ones that we've seen, in case you've got members that are like in farming. Farming is huge for us too, by the way.
Yeah.
Greenhouse farming. You're growing organic foods, non-GMO foods in a greenhouse. That stuff is all using sensors like this and boards like this checking the temperature of the greenhouse, checking the humidity levels. Like there's stuff you got to do to make sure your strawberries grow big and all that.
Yeah.
And then we have things like water irrigation too in farming. So we were able to check for water irrigation, and it's like boring things like supply chain. And I don't know if your listeners are into that stuff, but
we talk about supply chain on here all the time. I just had the Origin Trail guys on.
Oh, cool.
We're fans of VeChain, so yeah, I think that's one of the best use cases for blockchain. I think
it is. And so what's happened is, imagine we put one of these things on. We built this new cap for like medicine vials, so we can actually track like really important medicine that's going to Africa to ensure that it actually gets to the patients.
That's really cool. That's because I was just having a conversation with some friends about this the other day. That what was it, like $3 billion just disappeared in Iraq? Like,
that's right.
It just gone. No, we don't know where it went. What do you mean you don't know where it went? How do and so I think the transparency that comes with a public ledger is also a good thing. There's a lot less chance of that kind of tomfoolery going on.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, I think it was 3.2 billion to be exact.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
All
right, so let's see. We've got Jeff B says, Jason, are you watching BTC? Yes, I watched it fall off a cliff today. I'm sorry, guys. We'll talk about that later. That's let's see.
Auto.
Yeah, exactly. It's if you haven't stopped out of the market yet, I would. I've stopped out at a certain point and I've just been waiting for the bottom, and hopefully it comes around soon. I thought we were about to see it, but who knows now. Anyway, okay. So let's see. Jason Crowley says, I'm not sending Kyle Reese back to save this guy. The machines must be stopped. Okay. So let's see. Jeff B was asking about Honey Badger. That's the consensus mechanism. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Break it down in a way that's easily digestible?
I'll try. I'm not the expert here on the Honey Badger Byzantine fault tolerant. But essentially, one of the things we were trying to solve for is fight against Sybil attacks and spoofing in the 51% problem, which Honey Badger allows us to do because it creates groups essentially at every interval of time. So for us, we're going to create new groups or new consensus groups every 30 minutes. And there's a challenger that no one knows about, and that challenger is going to test the validity of the network. And so the Honey Badger allows us to do that at scale. And part of the problem with most Byzantine fault tolerance consensus systems, it kind of breaks and it's slow and it's not able to work at scale. Because our network has to be big, for us to make this right, we're thinking global coverage, global dominance. It's big, right? And so we got to be able to scale that. And so far for us, at least in simulation, the Honey Badger BFT is able to scale and is able to perform at speeds in which we want in an asynchronous manner. And while we're trying to make sure that consensus works, we're also trying to defend against other spoofs and Sybil attacks and just random shit that's out there. You guys know, right?
Sure. So I just had a question and I lost it while I was in. I hate when that happens. I can't remember what it was. All right, well, that's
all good.
Embarrassing. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have here? Guys, doing good. Kind of quiet today. Any of you guys have questions about this specifically? Jeff, Jason, Nick, Falcon, nobody? Jeff B says liked, but don't understand yet. Here we go. I don't understand the hardware play yet. Machines already have the ability to communicate, don't they? How does Helium tie into smartphones, TVs, cars without the need for proprietary hardware?
That's a great question, actually. I didn't do a good job explaining it. Part of the reason why the problems that I mentioned exist is because a lot of the things you see, especially smartphones, everyone's got a smartphone, right? What's wrong with that? Well, this smartphone, it's an iPhone, right? This smartphone uses a lot of battery power, right? And it requires you to pay whatever you pay every month to have data plan on this thing to work. Yep. Well, when we use our radio, right, this radio can run on a AA battery for 3 years. This phone has to be charged every day.
Yeah.
big difference, right? And so this when you put this on a package, you put this on a dog collar, you can put this on and it'll run for like 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, depends on what you're trying to do. That's one thing. The other thing is this is not using AT&T. It's not using T-Mobile, right? It's not using China Telecom. So that means you don't have to pay for a data plan.
Yeah, that's
what nice. You can do in our model, you just pay a Helium token, right? And that could be fractions of a penny or fractions of whatever currency you're on, a euro, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that seems like just for business adoption would be, when you're looking at where you can cut things out of the bottom line, that seems like a real clear.
Well, totally. And the other thing is, guys, look, this is called proprietary hardware. Yep. Proprietary, right? This is open source. This is open source. That means whoever wants to can take this from our GitHub and they can actually build their own. We love that. Can you go get this off of GitHub and build your own? No, not going to happen.
That was something I thought was actually cool when I was reading through on the website and stuff, is just that you guys have already put together a bunch of software developer kits and APIs and everything as well, with the open source repository over on GitHub. So I think that's a smart play, I think, just as far as getting more devs to start building on the blockchain, right?
Sure, for sure.
What other strategies have you guys considered recently for since you've developed your own proprietary blockchain? They would need to learn to code in the specific language, or is it? I mean, they're not using Solidity, right? Because it's not Ether. So
no. Yeah. So this blockchain, it's public. First of all, it's a public blockchain. I probably consider this more of like a protocol chain, if you will, in that it's not Ethereum, it's not Stellar. We're not using anybody else's. We made our very, very own blockchain.
Right.
So it's public. It's already published on GitHub. You can get it. I don't know. I mean, it's written in Erlang. Right? Erlang, for those of you that don't know coding, Erlang is actually a language that's used for mobile games. So if you ever played that World War II game or World of Warcraft or whatever game, that's all that's the Clash of Clans, whatever. It's all on Erlang because it's high speed, high performing, lots of volumes and lots it's a language that's written for telcos so they can perform at speed.
So I think I read you guys do something like 200 transactions per second or something like that. Is that accurate, or did I make that up?
I don't know. I think you're making it up. I'm not sure.
Blended that with. I read a great deal on 2 different projects today, so that might have run together a little bit. So what kind of transaction times? I mean, I know that's part of what the advantage that you're going for is the speed of transactions. So what kind of transaction times are you guys able to?
Actually, transaction time. Yeah, it's actually not as important for us because when you're sending information that's sensor information, even geolocation information, nanoseconds are fine. So we're not as concerned about that. And one of the key features and benefits, I'm glad you brought this thing up because it's related to our ability to actually provide geolocation essentially for free. It's part of the product, right? And we do it via radio waves. So when you have a bunch of these gateways, right, in different parts of, let's say, your neighborhood, right, and you got a dog walking around out there, what happens is the way that the GPS signals are transmitted from gateway to gateway, we can tell by distance, by the delay in which that signal goes from gateway A to gateway B, if I had another one here. Sure. And that delay there gives us a certain time frame reference. Yeah. And then gateway C up here, the third one, gives us a reference point.
Like and that's how basically.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we triangulate using essentially our land-based gateways in a way that allows this little dog, pretend that's on a dog collar, this thing to tell us where they are. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, and not having to put chips in for GPS. I can see that being again. That's what I was reading. That's a huge battery saver.
That's right. Exactly.
So, pretty clever stuff. So, are you concerned at all about the security of the actual transmission? Since you're using, radio is pretty broad spectrum, and
exactly.
So, how
do you
address the security of that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. There's a couple of ways, right? First of all, in this little radio, this is one of those 900 megahertz radios, by the way, right? This thing has a hard-coded private key that's in this that's in this piece of hardware
Okay.
that nobody knows. We don't know. The cloud that hosts it's not going to know. Only the owner of this will know, and only the owner that owns this device is able to translate this private key to a public key that goes into the cloud. So when this gateway hears this signal, the gateway actually doesn't know what it's hearing. It's not unpacking that data. It stays encrypted, and it goes from the gateway to the cloud via the backhaul, via your broadband or whatever, right? And so that's one big piece of the security right there, which is this is a 256K AES encryption or something like that. And this gateway then provides a blockchain on each gateway, stores the entire blockchain on here, right? And in that blockchain is information, a hash about what device this is, and then location and time in which we built the block. And so then there's some additional information that's in here that's immutable, and as long as it's in the public blockchain that's verifiable via all the other blocks, you're good, right?
Cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
So Jason had a follow-up. So he says this is follow-up to his hardware question. He's saying, does that cut out a huge portion of the future machine economy, i.e. those that don't decide to tie in? I'm assuming that Helium requires the RF radio frequency.
Yeah, so for today, I mean, if you think about it, this is running on RF. This is going to receive everything via RF. So when you think about machines of the future, this is, by the way, open source. So our hope is that everyone adopts this. It's free. We're not charging for it, right? We're going to provide all the schematics, the designs, the firmware, and the protocol that it's using to communicate on the radio waves is called WHIP, W-H-I-P.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so that's all open. It's free. There's no royalties. There's no secret licenses in here that no one knows about, because all the things we used on here are off-the-shelf chips that anyone can buy, anyone can find.
So, are you manufacturing these things, or is it? This is more okay. So that
we're building.
I would say it would be to sell this, obviously, right? You want people to buy the gateways and thus get onto the network, or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah. No, we're building these gateways initially. We'll keep building them for as long as we need to, but our hope is that someone else, like a Netgear, D-Link, or whoever, that builds these things, they take it and they build it.
That makes sense. If they're wanting to utilize the system, and then you end up with a network effect of growing the blockchain in general.
Yeah, and so the way Helium's going to make money, in case you guys are wondering, like how do we make money on this thing, right? The way we're going to make money is we're building a two-sided marketplace, right? On the one hand, I'm talking to all you guys, and I'm thinking, everyone on this call, or everyone on this video watching this thing on the YouTube and on Twitterville, whatever you're on, you could become a gateway host, right? Kind of like Airbnb, like where you're going to be the host, right? And then what we're going to do on the other side of the market is we're talking to enterprises, large companies around the world to use this, right? Use this to connect to this, and they'll pay you for that connection with Helium tokens. Right. So that's a two-sided marketplace we're trying to create. And so we're working with massive companies around the world, like Nestle and like others. There's tons. They're big companies. Some are big companies, food companies, healthcare companies, pharmaceutical companies, agriculture companies, right? So we're working with them to use this, adopt this, which will then, as they float around in the world, they talk to your gateways and they pay you. And so that's part of the whole idea of this system, is a two-sided marketplace. Helium makes money by helping the enterprise figure out how to manage millions of these things. So we've got a thing in the cloud, which we call a dashboard, the Helium Dashboard. It's a SaaS platform. And what we'll do is we'll go to the large enterprise and say, hey, go and use everyone's gateway. We'll help you manage this thing, millions of them, orchestration, workflow, management, two-way communications, updates and so forth. And we'll help you figure all that out, and you pay us for that. That's how we make money. So everyone watching today, they join us in this effort. They build a network together with us. They'll earn money by mining. They'll earn some kind of, a Helium token by allowing transactions to happen via another radio. And what we'll do is we'll drive that ecosystem to be really vibrant and, and alive, right? And ultimately, Helium makes money by helping enterprises manage this thing, millions of these things.
I like
Yeah.
that because then it's not passing the cost of operating the business onto the user. I was thinking about it and I'm like, well, if you've built a sufficiently incentivized system that it pays for itself, right? I
Right.
mean, but then
Right.
yeah, I was going to ask you like, how does Helium the company end up making money on
Yeah.
these things? So that makes
And
sense.
absolutely. And the beauty of our two-sided marketplace is that Helium isn't taking a cut of anyone's gateway. So if you guys all listening, watching this, you decide to do this with us, once you buy this, it's one time, right? We're selling this for $4.95. You would buy this, and this would start mining tokens, and you would keep all of it. Helium doesn't take any of it. We're
Wow.
not acting like Airbnb or Uber or Lyft. We're not going to take a cut. You own it. You buy it. You own the network.
That's pretty cool. That's another way to incentivize more people to actually participate. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so for all the viewers out there, whether you're watching now or later, just remember, like, get on our wait list, man. It's like helium.com. Check it out. Get on the wait list for this thing. We already have 6,000 people waiting for this. Join it,
Wow.
though, right? You buy this for one time, 495. You own it. You start mining. You start earning tokens.
So do you foresee any potential problems? Like, they started with Bitcoin, they started using the ASIC miners to make blocks more difficult to produce over time. Do you see any potential problems like that happening with this, or no, because you guys are designing the hardware?
I don't think so, because part of what we're doing is this piece of hardware right here is super efficient. It's 15 watts of power, so we're not talking about hashes and mining hashes. We're talking about mining radio waves, right? These radio waves are 900 megahertz in the U.S. It's like 878 and 715 in other countries.
Yeah.
They're lightweight. It's 300 bits to 300 kilobits, so it's nothing big, right? And so there's no advantage to pooling. You don't pool this stuff. In fact, to add value and to score higher on the consensus algorithm, you got to have this in like good locations, not pulled together, but like within 6 miles or 12 kilometers of each other. Does that make sense?
Yes, well, and that actually leads to Jason Crowley is full of good questions today. He's got another
Yeah.
one saying specifically RF is notorious for issues with interference, electromagnetic
Yep.
cabling, etc. How does Helium deal with that?
Yeah, good question. So our goal is this, right? This is the insides of what it looks like. The actual outsides is going to look like an Apple TV box with 3 antennas. And what we're doing is asking our users, right, if you buy this, to put this by your window, and you should get fairly good range. So we're going to defeat some of these interference problems because we're using very narrow bands. So this guy Jason sounds like he knows a lot about this stuff, which is great. But then he would know, like, if we use narrow bands, and for example, this thing has the capacity of getting up to 320 channels on narrow band.
Okay.
Jason should understand what that means. What we're doing there is we're using a software-defined radio here. This is the 900 megahertz radio area. We're using an SDR, software-defined radio, and that allows us to actually get through interference by channel hopping. We channel hop like crazy. So we've got this pretty awesome algorithm on how to channel hop. We've been doing this for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, we'll make that all open source as well. So when you're ready, take a look at the GitHub. And when we post that stuff, you'll be able to see. It's pretty innovative. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's very
And
cool.
yeah, so the whole channel hopping thing is it allows you to like get through noise and avoid all the interference as best as we can.
Right, sure. I mean, there'll only be so much. So then, obviously there'd be certain cases where this just like, if you live in the basement in an apartment in a city, you're probably not. This might not be the best functionality for you, but
No, dude. I mean, because it's narrowband and it's 900 megahertz in the U.S. at least. The beauty of this is that it cuts through concrete.
really,
It's shocking. I know. One of the use cases is a company called Wallow, Wallo. Look them up. They actually use our technology to control like garage doors and gates in condominiums, especially underground parking. And so what they use is this little radio is down in the basement, underground, under concrete, and it's able to send a signal across feet of concrete to hit a gateway like this.
Wow.
And let you know if the door is open or closed. So 900 megahertz can do that, whereas cellular can't because it's operating at a higher frequency. It can't cut through concrete.
Yeah.
But the drawback is we're using very small bytes of data, right? Small bytes of data in very narrow bands so we can cut through.
Interesting. So Tyron says, can data not be stolen via RF? I think you sort of addressed that a little bit already.
Yeah, Tyron. I mean, look, yeah, it's okay. Good question, right? It's encrypted. So there's a hardware encrypted private key in here that only the owner of this piece of hardware would know, and that would be part of the provisioning process. So that protects the data. It wraps it in 256 AES. So unless you've got the ability to crack encryption,
That's what I was going to say. I mean, they'd have to be able to have a quantum
uh,
computer or whatever to brute force it.
yeah, probably the NSA. They probably could do it, right?
Yeah.
Probably the KGB, right? I don't know if they're still. They probably could do it.
Let's see. What else? We've got a wow. We've got to smash that like button. Let's see. Did I have any other? Mike, a lot of the questions that I had got answered as I was reading through your website. Oh man.
Brought to you by LaCroix.
That is, yeah. I love that. I'm a big fan of their coconut flavor one as well.
We didn't have that.
I stumbled across it at my local Ralph's here the other day.
Oh, we have a key lime pie too. It's not too bad.
Oh yeah, you got all the good flavors. All right. So yep, Tyrone says okay, got it, cool. Man, nobody's asking any questions on Twitter. We got all kinds of people watching.
That's cool. Look, this stuff is complicated, man. It's not easy. And part of I think what makes Helium interesting and different from IOTA, from Foam, from some of these other guys is we're not scared to build this. This is difficult, man. This is hard, and we're going to open source all of it. So blockchain's cool. Blockchain's hard. It's not easy, but I'm telling you guys, this is ridiculously hard, man.
I mean, it sounds like just thinking about how complex it is to parse multiple signals and still be able to transmit that data and effectively, know that the packets are going to the right place.
That's right.
It's past my pay grade, that's for sure.
No, it's I think it passes lots of people's, right, and that's why our team is small but mighty. We got 20 people currently. They're mostly engineers. The brightest people I know. They're all like guys from peer-to-peer networking, Napster people, Basho people. We've got hardware people, signals people. I mean, these are really hardcore guys.
Nice.
It's really. Yeah.
So where are you guys based? Are you in Silicon Valley, right?
Well, we're in San Francisco.
San Francisco, okay.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we get that a lot with the Monarch project. People are always like, "Where are you guys based?" I'm like, "Well, we live here and we work here, but the company's here," and so it's always
World champs.
Right. Go Dubs. Lisa Thomas says, "How and when can I get one?" So
great question. Yeah. Great question. So we're doing a wait list right now. Get yourself on the wait list, helium.com, check it out. Right now, it's looking like a ship date of, I would probably say around Thanksgiving. That's what we're looking here. We've got 5,000 units that we're building right now. We're gunning for that. We would like to build more, but ran out of chips. We can't find any more of these damn Lime chips.
Oh, no.
These off-the-shelf stuff. We're small, right? We're small, we're scrappy, and so we're like the last people in line to get anything.
Right.
Fortunately, but that's the state that we're at. Get on the wait list, man. That's what I'm saying. Get on the wait list. Just so you know, if you get on the wait list, doesn't mean we're going to sell you one, because you got to be near another gateway to build consensus. So we're going to make sure that you don't lose out. So that's part of the process. But just get on the wait list,
Yeah, that makes sense. You want to make sure that the network actually is functioning. It doesn't do any good to have one in China and one in
that's right,
the middle of America, and one in
Brazil. So we're not going to take your money if we know that it's not going to work. You're not going to mine, so we're not going to take it.
That's pretty ethical of you guys as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
guys, we have to. We're backed by Google Ventures, man. We're backed by Khosla Ventures. We're backed by Mark Benioff. We're backed by Slow Ventures, and these are like first Mark. These are hardcore.
Yeah, seriously.
Or ballers.
Yeah, that was also part of what was interesting to me, was just looking at who had kind of signed on with you guys. I was like, well, they must know something. And it's like I said, it's definitely very unique in the space. I hadn't seen anything else yeah, I read a lot of white papers and look at a lot of different projects, and it's nice to see people doing something different.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, that's pretty much it as far as my heavy duty questions go. What else? Let's see. You like the dubs? Yeah, like let's.
Sure.
Of course. Any other big announcements? Are you guys going to be? You doing any more road shows or anything? Are you going to be at any of these events that we should point people
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, I mean, people in the Bay Area, they're in San Francisco. We're at a couple of women in blockchain conferences and meetups.
Mm-hmm.
We're hosting our own meetup, like in the July timeframe, July 19th,
Nice.
in San Francisco. We'll be hosting another meetup, I think, I want to say September timeframe in New York City at First Mark Capital. What else? We got webinars coming up that we're doing. We have a thing of our own called Uplink. It's like a video blog, blah 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 thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really cool. We're doing that with Orange Silicon Valley. It's a subsidiary of Orange Telecom.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with like a lot of folks like Capgemini and McKinsey as well. These are like system integrators and like big thinkers. They're super smart. They're getting us into different accounts and different enterprises. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We'll probably have some IoT shows as well. That's Internet of Things shows. For those that don't know. And, I don't know, man. I think maybe join our Telegram. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on, go to our website, helium.com. What's our Telegram? Helium_network. So just check out Telegram, Helium_network.
And I think you guys have a link to the Telegram group on your website, if I recall correctly.
Good point.
So, yeah. So,
Helium.com.
yeah, go to the website, and then you can get in and access it from there.
Yeah, so sign up for a newsletter, get on the wait list for Gateway, and check out the Telegram.
So Tyrone says he's based in Africa, and he's saying, would it be something for this part of the world, or is it most of this focus going on in the U.S. right now?
No, it is actually. We're on it. We're talking to a group called Code for Africa. They're looking at different development capabilities. They want to build different use cases related to water, as well as asset tracking and medicine tracking within Africa. So we're actually talking to a couple of different nonprofits, as well as a couple of different groups out of Africa. So yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's people talk about it a lot in this space, that's a market that they're going to try to go after, and then I don't see a lot of projects actually, a lot of them talk about it, and we're going to bank the unbanked, and do all these things, and then I'm like, well, let's do it then.
Well, yeah, but you bring up a good point I forgot to mention. We actually have a pretty large development community that's not just all Telegram, right? There's some people on Telegram, but you and I know, right?
Yeah.
A bunch of people there. Yeah. But we have actually developers that are working with us, have been working with us for 5 years. So they're on our chat in our community chat within Slack.
Nice.
And this is where we're talking about a lot of different things, and that's where we've got a lot of developers actually focused on projects and use cases, not just for Africa, but for other third world countries and developing countries. And the other thing I should probably mention is we're talking to Huawei and Cisco. These guys are really interested in using us as solutions potentially for specifically those areas.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys got a lot of big things in the pipeline. Obviously, you are well backed and advised, and the team looks strong. So,
thank you.
Like I said, unique project. I'm happy to expose it to our audience. So,
thank you.
Thanks for coming on, and keep us in the loop. If you guys have any big announcements coming up or anything like that, let us know. We'll tweet it out for you, and
you bet.
We're always happy to help spread the word.
You bet. Thank you, Jason.
Very
Thank
cool.
you, Somniac. Thank you, viewers. Like, subscribe, get on it. Cryptosomniac.
So
Thank you.
Tyrone has one more question. He said, what was the Something for Africa group name? He wants to know.
I think one was Code for Africa. Code
for Africa.
Code for Africa, yeah.
Cool. Nice one. Awesome. Well, again, thanks so much. And like I said, keep us in the loop. We're happy to help you continue to spread the word. And we'll talk with you soon.
Peace out.
Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
All right.
From Cryptosomniac. Keep your stop losses tight. See you later.